Isaac and Laura Goodwin converted to the Mormon faith in their 30s. With their 7 children, they heeded the call of their church leaders to leave the United States so the faithful could worship without government interference. Mexico in 1846 stretched from the Rockies in the east to the California coast in the west. One group of Mormons set out by land and eventually reached the Great Salt Lake Basin. The Goodwins joined 229 others to go by sea to the coastal section of Alta California. After leaving New York on February 4, 1846, and merging into the Gulf Stream, the Brooklyn ship ran into rough seas. The winds were so fierce that women and children had to be lashed to their beds to keep from being tossed out. The fierce winds pushed the old vessel so far east that they were nearly blown off to the Cape Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa before Captain Richardson could steer back towards South America. But the hardest part was still months ahead. The rounding of Cape Horn was known as the graveyard of the ocean. Violent, changeable winds blew from every quarter, often accompanied by hail and sleet. Everyone was sick. Passengers died from diarrhea, scarlet fever, consumption, and injury. Their bodies were dropped into the sea. It was an injury that got Laura, who was carrying her 8th child. Laura lost her footing while going down a ladder, resulting in a miscarriage. Sick with an infection, she begged Isaac not to bury her at sea. She held on as the captain searched for a port. Eventually, he reached the Juan Fernandez Islands, some 360 miles off the coast of Chile. Laura Goodwin was buried there. Isaac had to raise their 7 children on his own. Then finally, on July 31st, 1846, 6 months after leaving New York, the ship sailed into the mist-shrouded harbor of Yerba Buena, now San Francisco. Only a few weeks before, the United States had occupied the area. It was a settlement of about 200 inhabitants and 50 houses and shops. Isaac made the most of his situation. He and other men built houses and structures. In 1848, he took on a job to help build a mill near Sutter's Fort in the Sacramento area, by the American River. Not long on the job, one of the men said he found gold in the river. As word spread, men poured into the area to mine for gold. By 1855, there were more changes Isaac had to contend with. His eldest daughter had gotten married, and he was without a key helper. Isaac took Mary Cox as his new wife. They stayed in California for several more years, but when Brigham Young said the faithful should move to Utah, the ever-obedient servant headed there with his wife and younger children. He brought alfalfa seeds with him to see if they would take to the Utah climate. Isaac and Mary arrived in Utah in 1859. The alfalfa seeds took root in the Utah soil, and Isaac shared the plants with other farmers. Eventually, his granddaughter Laura came to live with him and Mary in the city of Lehi, on a beautiful plot with a much-admired orchard. There, Isaac spent his old age in peace and faith. He died on April 25, 1879, at the age of 68.